In every generation, there is one person who addresses the heavy issues.
Wait, hold on. Nobody said anything about heavy lifting.
Someone who does the in-depth and investigative reporting that other journalists are afraid to touch.
So am I gonna need gloves? Am I getting gloves?
A show that will ask the hard questions.
Referendums. Sounds like something I need a prescription for.
This is not that show. The Not So Late Show with Glenn Sherman.
The Coalition for Responsible Taxation now supporting value-added tax in a fashion after speaking with New Zealand experts. This as BEC Chairman Leslie Miller disagrees with their position on taxing electricity. A traffic fatality in Acland leaves 2 dead. Police on the hunt for an escaped prisoner since the weekend. Concerns over sexually transmitted infections among youth. We've got those stories and more coming out tonight. I'm Dana Smith and MB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the Coalition for Responsible Taxation has credited 2 New Zealand value-added tax experts with raising its level of confidence as it relates to tax reform. Coalition co-chair Robert Myers says unlike the Bahamas government, New Zealand involved the private sector from the outset. However, he is confident that if the Bahamas follows the New Zealand VAT model, the country can effectively achieve both tax reform and fiscal reform. Vonnie Toot reports.
After meeting with 2 New Zealand VAT experts last week, co-chair of the Coalition for Responsible Taxation, Robert Myers, says a number of their fears have been allayed. He also agreed with John Schuman that the proposed July 1st implementation date would be extremely challenging and in fact encouraged the government to hold off on implementation until early next year.
They've helped to sort of pacify everybody's fears. Right. What they've done is they've looked at what we've said, and they've said yes, these are good things, and so it's helped the government, it helped us, it's given everybody a level of confidence that what we're talking about and what the government is talking about, are not too far apart.
Myers applauded the government for inviting New Zealand VAT experts Don Brash and John Schuman to the Bahamas to make recommendations on the proposed tax, and said there would be a greater level of confidence if the Bahamas followed New Zealand's tax reform model.
If we all work together and we take good advice from people like that have shown that they can do it positively, there's no reason we can't get this right and pay off our debt and be one of the strongest economies in the Caribbean. There's absolutely no reason. I'm convinced of it.
So they got it right when they brought them here.
That was a good move, and we encouraged that right from the beginning. We said that's great. We look forward to their trip. We wish it had been sooner.
Myers says there is a lot the Bahamas can learn from New Zealand, which thought outside the box. In fact, he believes the process of implementation would have been further along if the Bahamas government had taken New Zealand's approach of involving the private sector from the very beginning, instead of releasing what he called a complicated VAT tax bill.
They've really taken the private sector's thought process on this and pushed it through legislation. They actually implemented a implementation team prior to even legislation, this group of 3 private sector individuals. So from the white paper to the actual implementation, they did that in 20 months, right? So you can see we've already lost 12, 14 months because we didn't do some of the things that they've done.
For that reason, the coalition co-chair suggested that the government use the next few months finalizing VAT details and embarking on a detailed education campaign.
It's certainly not July 1st.
Do you think it's possible
this year? It could be early next year. It could be the end of this year.
The Coalition for Responsible Taxation is preparing an alternative tax study for the government at a cost of $150,000. The Christie administration is awaiting final reports from the private sector and another firm before making a definite decision on the way forward. Meyer says Oxford Economics report will be made public upon its completion in mid-May. At the end of the day, he says it's not just about tax reform, but also fiscal reform. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
Chairman of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, Leslie Miller, says he is against charging VAT on electricity bills. This is after the New Zealand expert said last Friday electricity should not be exempted from VAT. Miller told our news team he doesn't see the merits of charging VAT on electric bills and noted the majority of BC customers are already struggling to pay the bills they have now. He said some 85% of customers are currently in arrears ranging from $3,000 to $6,000. Miller said one has to consider whether at this point in time, with the economy the way it is, whether the average household could afford an additional tax on the cost of their electricity. New Zealand VAT experts Don Brash of Brash Consultancy Services and John Shewan, an adjunct professor of accounting, said it is a fallacy to think that exempting electricity from VAT will lead to lower power bills. Miller said he appreciates the work the men are doing, but noted the corporation is already struggling to collect enough revenue from its customers to defray its expenses, and an added tax burden at this time may not be beneficial to the corporation's finances. The Bahamas Bar president today blasting the government for remaining silent on the constitutional referendum, which Prime Minister Perry Christie promised would happen by June. Ellsworth Johnson noted that constitutional bills, which were expected to be tabled by the end of 2013 and passed by February, have yet to surface. Chairman of the Constitutional Commission, Sean McQueenie, recently revealed that government may have to delay the planned referendum on gender equality for the third time. Johnson says the referendum should be held by December, warning another delay will send the wrong message.
It sends a horrible message, and it's that either persons aren't serious about it. And I think women need to disabuse themselves, disabuse their minds of whatever issues prevents them from coming together and really come together. The College of the Bahamas needs to call for it, the church needs to call for it, and just tell their members to get on board.
Johnson says the Constitutional Commission has done its job by submitting a constitutional report. However, he questions whether the delay is the result of a lack of patriotism. He says it is time for constitutional change, insisting it is not rocket science.
For this country to go, it has to happen. And if we can just get rid of our selfish political desires or our selfish personal desires, set our minds and our hearts to work patriotically, by December we can do this. We're speaking about the efficiency of the judiciary. Well, we need to extend the age of those persons. We're speaking about the rights of women who we claim to love so much. Well, we need to deal with them. We're speaking about our darlings who are the strength of our nation. Well, we need to assist them.
Prime Minister Christie said previously the government hopes to amend the citizenship provisions of the Constitution to achieve full equality between men and women with respect to the acquisition and transmission of Bahamian nationality. Johnson says the last constitutional referendum on gender equality, held in 2002, failed because of petty politics.
One side said when we first tried it, wait, we need to discuss it, when almost everybody was for it. They said, yes, we agreed. But you know what happened there? Somebody saw that they could score a political point. So they said, hold on. Now again, the game is being played. It's time for the games to be over and done with.
Last October, Christie announced that the constitutional referendum would take place before the end of June 2014, following a public education campaign. He also said constitutional bills would be brought to Parliament before the end of 2013 and passed by February 2014. The bills have not yet been introduced in Parliament, and the public education campaign has not started. Officials confirming a traffic fatality in Acklands today left 2 men dead after they rejected from the vehicle following a crash. According to police, the incident happened shortly before 10 a.m. The victims were driving south along Queens Highway in Hard Hill, Acklands, in a 2006 Scion when the car careened into nearby bushes and overturned. The driver and passenger were ejected from the car. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene, while the passenger was transported to the local clinic where he succumbed to his injuries. A team from the police traffic division is flying out to Acklands from New Providence to assist with investigations. Police in New Providence are on the hunt for a suspect who escaped police custody over the weekend. 22-year-old Tamika Williams of Podolio Street was being held at the Grove Police Station on armed robbery and burglary-related charges. He has dark brown skin, stands approximately 5'7" to 8 inches tall, with a slim build. He has black hair and brown eyes. Now, Williams has not been in police custody since Friday, leading many to question why the matter is just being reported. Police say Williams is considered to be armed and dangerous. Police appeal to anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of Williams to contact police. In other news, while teens and young adults account for less than a quarter of the sexually active population, it turns out they make up the majority of new cases of sexually transmitted infections. That, according to statistics released by the Bahamas Sexual Health and Rights Association. Our Jasmine Bonamy has the details in this report.
Sexually transmitted diseases amongst young people is not exactly new, but this disparity between those who choose to have sex and those who contract diseases is quite shocking. Newly released statistics are revealing that while young people account for only a fraction of the population that's sexually active, they also account for more than 3/4 of the newly reported STI cases. During a press conference this morning, Executive Director of the Bahamas Sexual Health and Rights Association, Kevon Lightburn, revealed the startling statistics involving the 14 to 24 age group. He says that age group accounts for only 23% of the sexually active population, but makes up a whopping 75% of new STI cases.
Young persons are disproportionately affected by HIV, or rather STIs. New cases of STIs, we're seeing a peak new cases among the 14 to 24 age group.
BASHRA is a non-government charity organization that seeks to provide information and workshops on sexual health and wellness. Lightburn noted that specific statistics of the numbers of people affected by STIs are difficult to come by. However, he said, based on information he is privy to, there must be more emphasis placed on the education side of sex. Lightburn said unwanted pregnancies are also common. However, he said the problem mainly exists within the poorer population. He added over the years, the fertility rate has gone down generally among women in nearly all age groups, except for those who are poor.
So many Bahamians have been stuck in poverty because they have not been able to get control of their fertility.
Lightburn added that a major factor with young people contracting STDs is the lack of education and the stigma attached to sex. Lightburn said proper education can make a difference in the number of people contracting STIs.
Adolescent sexuality is stigmatized. Young persons feel whether they're having sex or not, they know that the Bahamian society does not condone this, and so they're not going to be readily coming forward to tell trusted adults that they're having sex, and therefore they're having the problems associated with sex. We must, as a nation, come together to fight the problems of STIs, HIV, and unwanted pregnancy.
The group is also advocating for better sex education in schools, given the highly disproportionate statistics. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
When NB12 returns, the health minister says the government's Costa Rican national health insurance consultants should be done with their work by this summer. Stay with us.